We live in a globally competitive world, and nowhere is that competition more evident than in classrooms all around the world. Regardless of nationality, as soon as a student completes the 8th grade, the clock starts ticking. From that moment until high school graduation, a young person has roughly 2 million minutes to prepare for his or her life as an adult. Today, we focus on how that time is being spent and why a recent film is raising serious questions about the global competitiveness of America's youth. Meet Neil Arndt, senior class president.
Occasionally I do homework, like over the weekend. Let's see, on Monday I had to give a presentation in my macroeconomics class, and I started it on Sunday at about 4:30. So I was on the computer working on that till about 2 in the morning.
Because I want to do pre-med, I know it's going to be a lot of studying, so it's not going to be as much fun.
And aspiring Dr. Brittany Breckvold, two graduating seniors featured in a film that questions whether our educational system is as good as we think it is.
I want to join a sorority, which obviously you're going to party a lot, you have some fun.
America is the one country in the world that doesn't seem to recognize that it's in competition for the great minds in the capital of the world.
In the film 2 Million Minutes, filmmakers contrast America's educational system with that of China and India, two emerging economies that have made dramatic leaps in educating their middle class.
Americans aren't globally aware. They're more worried about what's happening in their community than they are in the world. Americans don't know they're competing with Indians and Chinese.
Two countries where the overwhelming majority of college students receive degrees in science and engineering. And with wages substantially lower than those in the U.S., multinational companies are increasingly choosing China and India for their high-tech workforce.
The people who are potentially losing their competitive edge are Americans.
Which is why filmmakers followed 6 students from 3 different countries as they prepared to enter a global economy.
Good morning, Carmel High School. This is Hillary Hoover with your morning announcements.
Across the U.S., fewer than 40% of students take a science course more rigorous than general biology. As for math, only 45% of American students take anything beyond 2 years of algebra and 1 year of geometry.
I'm just not the type of person that can study, for 20 hours a day. I like to kick back and have fun.
But in China, studies are a little more regimented. Students here average about 9 hours a day in school. That's often followed with one-on-one tutoring, leaving little time for an American pastime, video games with friends.
There's a chance that I'll actually have to start putting more effort into schoolwork, because that's what people have always told me, because I've always kind of excelled without putting forth a lot of effort.
The Chinese school year is, at the secondary level, is a full month longer than the US school year. And if you look at the time spent in school during the day, that is also longer. If you add to that the amount of time spent doing homework and studying, by the end of high school, Chinese students have spent twice as many hours studying as American students.
The average American student spends about 900 hours in the classroom and about 1,500 hours in front of the TV. With 66% of college-bound seniors having no more than 1 hour of homework per night and none on the weekends. But not so in the developing country of India.
I think American kids have a bigger challenge than Indian kids. And the reason is that when you grow up with economic certainty, it takes a very different kind of motivational pull. So when you grow up like I did, where my parents were both professionals, they were very smart, yet we had no money. I had to buy secondhand textbooks. And now for me, that economic opportunism is a simple beacon. It makes me work hard, it makes me apply myself. So I actually think kids in the United States have a bigger challenge of being able to get to this point because they have to apply themselves and rev their internal engine in a different way And I'm not quite sure exactly how you get that uniformly like you do with economic opportunism.
During the past decade, Indians have founded more engineering and technology companies across the U.S. than immigrants from Britain, China, Taiwan, and Japan all combined.
I mean, the fact is that Indian kids look up to the tech entrepreneurs in the USA, and they're the heroes. I mean, I'll tell you, when I've run 2 technology companies. When I used to go back as a tech executive, I was treated like a movie star in India, simply because I was a high-tech executive who had succeeded in the USA.
Nearly 60% of engineering PhD degrees awarded annually are earned by foreign nationals.
The question is, can Americans continue to add substantial value to an integrated world economy so that the incomes of Americans continue to rise, and not just the incomes of the top 20 or 30% who get the best education, but I'm talking about the incomes of most Americans. That's the goal here. It's not to be number one necessarily in everything. It's not to knock the Chinese and the Indians down. It's to be part of an increasingly, hopefully, more valuable set of human minds doing more and more complicated and more productive things.